20 years ago, using the internet was unfamiliar to the majority of the population, and at that point, very few could have predicted that the industry would grow into the colossal global networking medium that it is today. Lifelong astronomer and professor at the University of Arizona, Chris Impey, argues in his book Beyond that space tourism would become what the internet was 20 years ago. Like the internet, space tourism would blossom into a multi-billion-dollar industry, becoming available to the general public and revolutionizing the human experience. Impey claims that within the next 5 years, going into space will no longer be a luxury of the government and elite, but for nearly all people, just as the internet is today. But there's a long way to go before you or I will be traveling beyond Earth's orbit. Simply put, space tourism is a commercial industry, private or public, where people purchase tickets to be brought into the extraterrestrial world. This market has plenty of room for growth in the coming years as a result of projected public interest. The only trouble will be avoiding asteroids, like costs and regulations. But because we could be experiencing these feats in the near future, today we will examine the origins of modern-day space tourism, its industry-changing applications and implications leading to a dynamic population shift. Because as Forbes News stated on July 6 of 2017, with a market like this, our world could be changed forever. In much the same way as the internet took time to become popular among society, space tourism is getting through that process right now, warranting us to examine the origins of modern-day space tourism, which involves first the early stages and second, the government restrictions that ensued. The origin of space tourism was the purchase of a ticket by United States millionaire Dennis Tito on April 28th of 2001, according to Space.com, which monitors all international space accomplishments. But even in these early stages, there were some inhibitors slowing down these accomplishments. For instance, as BBC News noted in their May 9th, 2017 report on the progress of space tourism, Virgin Galactic, a private space company, suffered a fatal accident in 2014, just one of nearly a dozen the market has seen. After this occurrence, the company lost an abundance of followers and faced major financial setbacks. These occurrences, as well as the public memory of the Challenger explosion, are preventing space tourism from reaching what it was at one point projected to be. Next, safety regulations put into place by our government as a safety precaution have also been slowing down this journey. Stephen Hogue wrote of some of these policies in his report for the Nebraska Law Review of 2007, titled Legal Aspects of Space Tourism, which highlights that most United States companies currently abide by the Spaceship One model, stating that all space tourist trips must have a detachable rocket that returns to the location of liftoff. Additionally, as long as waivers are signed 90 days prior to the trip, these companies may assume as much or as little liability for the safety of the passengers, provided that the people still wish to travel. The likely reason behind such forcible government actions is pointed out by Universe Today, who noted that with the expansion of space exploration comes the lofty responsibility of governing space. However, the Office of Commercial Space Transportation, commonly known as AST, did provide some protection for the government, according to Space Daily, updated daily, in creating the Space Launch Amendments Act, which used diction capable of allowing the government to squander all hopes of space tourism at any sign of a hiccup. Next, now that the market is on the rise, it will be very exciting to begin exploring the applications that could be changing this initiative tremendously. Identifying first, how the innovations for rockets have been revolutionizing this adventure, and second, how today's travel is more prevalent than ever. Rocket revolution has been something that specific companies have been targeting for years. More specifically, SpaceX, multi-billionaire Elon Musk's company, has decided that they're going to target the least efficient part of these spacecrafts, the rockets themselves. They told NBC in a teleconference on April 4th of 2017 that they are currently creating massive Falcon Heavy rockets as part of their future Dragon ship designs. These rockets, in accordance with the Spaceship One model mentioned earlier, would detach from the spaceships, gracefully returning to Earth for reuse up to a dozen times. If this initiative falls into place, our world could be forever changed, as these prices will continue to plummet, and this functionality will be available for not only the upper class, but for all of us as well. But in addition to these future rockets coming into play, one also can recognize that in the current day, many people are actually flying. In an article posted by the Pew Research Center in June of 2017, just over 600 people have traveled above the Kármán line, a point 62 miles above Earth that marks the beginning of space. Of these over 600 travelers, the vast majority were astronauts, but 42 of them are actually accounted for by space tourists. And when these trips began in 2014, they initially started taking place about once every 3 months, or only 4 times a year. But today, people are surpassing that same Kármán line about once every other week. But in addition to these amazing travels going at an exponential rate, one can also note that new companies are sprouting as a result. Specifically, Trend in Tech, a news agency who reports on new inventions, mentioned that entrepreneurs Ted Sudner and Nikolay Mazev co-founded a company called the Final Frontier Design. These two are currently hitting the jackpot on this multi-billion-dollar industry with what is serving as the likely suit of apparel for travelers in this fresh market. Understanding now that the market is on the rise, it will be very exciting to begin exploring the implications leading to a dynamic population shift by identifying first how space tourism divides our classes in the current day, but second, how it could end up uniting us as well. The division of space tourism has been tremendous, specifically for various companies. The aforementioned NBC article posits that SpaceX has an even more ambitious goal of sending colonists to Mars by 2020. Now, this initiative, as Elon Musk states, would involve constructing a Mars colonial spacecraft transporter, enabling 100 people to make the journey to the Red Planet in a matter of 2 years. Though one common problem occurs. Only those able and willing to supply the funds will be able to travel. This allows the digital divide to continue to occur in our world. Those who already have access to great technology and an abundance of wealth will continue to extend their access beyond our world, while those without it will be left struggling for the basic needs for survival in developing nations. Though another projection with similar support is flying through space to another part of the globe. And as AV Jobs stated in their February 2017 report, this initiative has revolutionized our world tremendously. The current day flight from Sydney, Australia to London takes 22 hours. But imagine that same flight taking only 2 hours. This is the goal of current space company Virgin Galactic, who wants to try to take their commercial space transporter and commercialize it for public use. If they're able to initiate this effort, they will be able to completely revolutionize our world, changing travel time tremendously and allowing face-to-face interaction to continue to thrive. But while dividing our classes could be an initial response to space tourism, it could end up uniting us as well. When Franklin D. Roosevelt decided to make the space race a legislative priority, he affirmed that we would land men on the moon within the decade. While FDR was not around to witness that feat, it did become a reality. And in much the same way that FDR united American interest in space then, space tourism, with the right backers, could end up uniting us as well. This initiative would revolutionize our world and allow all of us to continue face-to-face interaction by cross-continental travel through space, an initiative that would mark the beginning of a new space era. Throughout all of human evolution, the idea of what was beyond Earth has shifted. And now that scientific breakthroughs are on the verge of becoming a reality for normal citizens, we're going to be able to answer those questions ourselves. So today we began by understanding the importance of space tourism and its origins in modern day. Second, the industry-changing applications. And finally, implications leading to a dynamic population shift. Because as the internet revolutionized our world 20 years ago, space tourism will be doing the same thing very soon, managing to alter our race and creating a new world as we know it.